Hi Tarot Tribe, it's Ethany and welcome to part 5 of my Tarot for Beginners series. Today we are going to talk about my 5 things I recommend that you avoid as a beginner tarot reader. So if you have actually missed the first 4 parts of my series, you can find them on my YouTube channel, or you can go over to ethany.com, which is actually the transcription link is in the description below, and you can find the links to each one of them. So I have that all in one place for you. And as with everything that I share with you, please take what resonates with you and simply leave the rest. I'm just checking that this was recording because I've been having issues. So I am totally understanding that you may not agree with my suggestions for what to avoid in the beginning, and that's totally cool. These are things for you to take on as a consideration and not something you have to own or put into practice, or you may have had a totally different experience in the beginning. So my first thing to avoid is Pip Decks. So Pip Decks are a deck of cards that has very minimal presented to you in regards to illustration. I actually have another video out on my channel called Pips versus Fully Illustrated Tarot Cards. That link is also over at ethany.com in the transcription, or you can find it in my YouTube channel. And I actually talk about the difference if you aren't sure what a Pip deck is and what it looks like in comparison to a fully illustrated tarot deck. These Pip decks are based on a Marseille, a Visconti Forza, older decks in tarot. They are more in line and show in a more direct way that tarot started as a playing card game. They look like your playing card elements versus a fully illustrated scene. As a divination tool, I have found that Pip decks work completely different to a fully illustrated deck. I've found that I've had to rely a lot more on my memory, and they don't give you a lot of guidance visually as to what is playing out maybe in a person's life. They are great for numerological readings. They are fantastic, and I'm doing a lot more study with Pip decks now, and I found that I did that as a more advanced reader. But in the beginning, I couldn't really connect with them. Personally, I love fully illustrated decks as they give me a lot more to work with and they give me clearer messages. However, most importantly, you need to find a symbolic language that works for you. By avoiding Pip decks and the minimalistic decks that are out there as a beginner, I feel you're giving yourself a better chance to get confident in your readings by having a lot more elements in play. But if you find that working with a minimalistic deck or a Pip deck is what is opening your intuition, it's what is allowing you to connect with the messages of the tarot and to give your clients and the people you're reading for great readings, then absolutely go for it. Number 2, and I feel like this is even more important than the Pip deck issue, is avoid tarot decks that don't speak to you. There is no right or wrong tarot deck to work with, to learn with, to read with, reverse with. There really is not. If a deck doesn't speak to you, don't work with it. Even if it's a super popular deck that everyone seems to be working with. Even if your teacher, mentor, best friend, your best friend's ferret think it's the absolute shit. If it's not working for you, don't use it. Work with the tool that wants to work with you. Work with art that inspires you and unlocks your intuitive side. Work with an art deck or a deck that really challenges you and opens you up. But most importantly, work with a tarot deck that you actually like. You're going to find that if you resolve that issue straight away, that you are open to everything else. You're not fighting that internal battle as well. And for many of us, we have different decks that we work with at different times, and that's okay too. Number 3, so the third thing to avoid in the beginning is information overload. So when it comes to the world, the wonderful, wide, wacky, wondrous, whimsical world of tarot, there is a lot that you can learn. There is a lot to learn when it comes to being a well-rounded reader. To begin with, 78 tarot cards is a lot to get your head around. Double that if you want to read reversals. Plus, you add elements like tarot spreads and all of the elements that you put into creating a really good reading, and you find that is a ton of information. By all means, read books, join in conversations, be open to learning, but if you find yourself starting to get confused and overwhelmed, take a step back. Take time out from consuming new information. It gives you time also to absorb and reflect on what you have already learnt and to put into practice the things that you are currently learning. Keep yourself balanced and keep it as simple as you can. You don't want to get to a place where you throw your hands up in retreat because it's all too much to wrap your head around. The next thing is number 4 is tarot hoarding. So I know this may sound very weird from someone who has quite an extensive tarot library, but you actually don't need too many tarot decks or tools right off the bat. Start small, love what you have. The truth is, you only really need one good deck. Until you know that you really want to work with the tarot, that it's going to be something that's with you for a while, or whether you would really like to collect them, you don't have to break your bank account and buy everything that you see. While these days I work with multiple tarot decks, that was not always the case in the beginning. And also in the beginning, every dollar I made reading tarot was spent buying more decks. But because the tarot was a side gig, it was not my major source of income. I had another job, I could do that, and my collection was also very small at the beginning. So I wasn't doing this full time, and I had, only a few clients at a time. So that little amount of money that I would make, especially if I was doing a fair on the weekend or whatever it may be, I would totally go and buy more decks with that. As your practice and your business grows, you can always add more. And I rotate my collection like a lot of us do. I have decks that I use for certain clients. I have decks that I use for certain types of readings. But this is developed over my many years as a professional and something that I've honed in, and it adapts and changes as I do as well. Have gratitude for what you have now, even if it's just one deck. It's a wonderful practice for tarot and in life. And the last one is number 5, being too serious. It can be a little bit of a downer. Working with the tarot can be anything you want it to be. You can decide how to use the tool, and you're the only one who gets to decide how to use the tool for your own practice. For many of us, the art and practice of tarot is some serious, deep stuff. But that doesn't mean that it can't be fun too. Read the cards long enough and they will definitely get sassy with you, so you may as well keep your sense of humor while you work with them. Fun, creative activities with the tarot that can keep you engaged and keep it light can be really helpful. These can be things like, finding tarot archetypes that are in your favorite pop culture. This can be poetry. This can be writing fiction with tarot. There can be finding tarot in everyday art or everyday experiences out while you're going shopping and you see something that reminds you of a tarot card. Make sure you laugh at yourself when you drop your cards shuffling or when the cards call you out. Life is way too short not to have a good time, even if we are spiritual people. And a bonus one for you all is to avoid appointed tarot authorities that aren't welcoming. So I have no time for anyone who says there is only one way to read the cards or is trying to make anyone feel as though they do not belong in the tarot community. I would like to tell you that there is room for you. Those who think the tarot is something for only a few VIPs, for me, is total bullshit and does nothing positive for our community. I could go on a long rant about the personal work that people like this are in clear need of, but I'm just going to leave it at that. You may work with the tarot in a different way to me, and that is absolutely fine. We are all here to experience the tarot for how it works for us. Not all people will be great fit as clients, friends, or mentors in the tarot for you, and that is fine as well. We will all find the right readers to work with, the right mentors to work with, and our own little community. We all like different movies, music, food. We're drawn to different teachers, readers, and points of view. And tarot reading styles are no different. As long as you're not hurting anyone or being a scam artist and are being genuine with your practice, just do you. So what would you add to the list? Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments below or over at ethany.com. And as always, thank you so much for watching.